Before a person's true character breaks into the open, it usually leaves a trail of clues, tiny clues, quiet clues, clues hidden inside ordinary moments that most people dismiss without a second thought. This is why some individuals spend years trusting the wrong people, building friendships with the wrong people, falling in love with the wrong people, or placing their confidence in someone who eventually reveals a completely different side of themselves. The surprising part is that the warning signs were often there from the very beginning. They were simply hidden beneath charm, confidence, good manners, attractive words, and carefully managed first impressions. Human beings are remarkably skilled at presenting the version of themselves they want others to see. In fact, psychologists have long studied the ways people shape their image in social situations. Most of us naturally adjust our behavior depending on who is watching. We smile when necessary. We say the right things. We try to appear kind, trustworthy, and respectable. But there comes a point where maintaining that image becomes difficult. There comes a moment when the mask slips, not because a person wants it to, but because certain situations quietly expose what lies underneath. And once you understand where to look, people become much easier to understand. Many believe that character reveals itself through big events, dramatic conflicts, or life-changing decisions. The truth is often much simpler. Character tends to reveal itself in small moments that pass unnoticed. A casual interaction, a brief conversation, a situation where no reward is involved, a moment of power, a moment of advantage. These ordinary situations can reveal more about a person than years of listening to their promises. That is why some of the most intelligent people still misjudge others. They focus on words while ignoring behavior. They pay attention to appearances while overlooking patterns. They trust what sounds good rather than what consistently proves true. Yet research in psychology suggests that actions performed under certain conditions can reveal remarkably accurate insights into who a person really is. Not the version they advertise. Not the version they want others to believe. The real version. In today's video, we are going to uncover two powerful signs that expose a person's true character with surprising accuracy. These signs are not complicated. They do not require special training, years of experience, or advanced knowledge of human behavior. They appear in everyday life, often right in front of us. Yet most people fail to recognize their importance. By the end of this video, you will understand why these two simple observations can tell you more about a person's integrity, values, empathy, and emotional maturity than endless conversations ever could. You will also discover why many relationships, friendships, and partnerships could have been understood much earlier if people had paid attention to these hidden indicators. One of these signs is so subtle that most people completely overlook it, while the other tends to reveal itself only when circumstances change. Together, they create a powerful test that few individuals can consistently hide from. So stay with us until the very end, because the second sign may completely change the way you evaluate the people around you. It may also lead you to reflect on your own behavior in ways you never expected. Sometimes the most valuable lessons about human nature are not about learning who others are. They are about understanding ourselves more clearly. If you enjoy exploring psychology, human behavior, relationships, and the hidden forces that shape our decisions, you are in the right place. Welcome to the channel. Make sure to subscribe and join our growing community for more fascinating insights into the human mind and the truths most people never notice. One of the biggest mistakes people make when judging others is assuming that what they see on the surface is the whole story. Human beings are naturally drawn to certain traits. We are attracted to charm because charm makes us feel comfortable. We trust confidence because confidence creates the impression of competence and certainty. We believe promises because we want to see the best in people. We become impressed by appearances because our brains are constantly looking for shortcuts to make quick judgments. In many situations, these instincts help us navigate the world efficiently. But when it comes to understanding someone's true character, these instincts can become surprisingly unreliable. A person can speak beautifully and still be dishonest. A person can appear warm and friendly while hiding selfish motives. A person can seem generous in public while behaving very differently in private. This is why first impressions often tell us less than we think. They reveal how someone wants to be seen, not necessarily who they truly are. Psychologists have studied this tendency for decades. People naturally create what experts call a social image. Whether consciously or unconsciously, most individuals adjust their behavior depending on their surroundings. They know which qualities earn admiration. They know which behaviors attract approval. They know how to present themselves in ways that make others feel comfortable. There is nothing unusual about this. Nearly everyone does it to some degree. The problem begins when we mistake that carefully managed image for character. Character and personality are not the same thing, even though many people use the words as if they mean exactly the same thing. Personality is often visible immediately. It includes things like confidence, humor, charisma, friendliness, energy, and communication style. Character operates much deeper. Character is revealed through values. It appears through choices. It guides behavior when rewards disappear and consequences seem unlikely. Personality is what people show. Character is what directs them when nobody is watching. This difference explains why life sometimes surprises us in painful ways. A person who seemed kind can become cruel when circumstances change. A person who appeared loyal can disappear when loyalty is actually required. A person who sounded honest can become dishonest when the truth becomes inconvenient. At the same time, some of the most trustworthy people never attract immediate attention. They may not be charismatic. They may not dominate conversations. They may not possess the charm that instantly wins admiration. Yet over time, they prove themselves through consistency. Their actions match their values. Their behavior remains stable across different situations. They are the people who quietly earn trust instead of demanding it. The challenge is that many people spend years focusing on the wrong indicators. They pay attention to what people say about themselves. They listen to promises. They become fascinated by confidence. They assume that kindness shown toward them reflects kindness shown toward everyone else. But true character usually reveals itself in places where nobody is looking. It emerges during ordinary moments that seem too small to matter. In fact, some of the most revealing moments in human behavior happen when there is absolutely nothing to gain. This brings us to the first sign. If you want to understand someone's true character, pay close attention to how they treat people who can do nothing for them. This simple observation has exposed more truths about human nature than countless conversations ever could. Anyone can be respectful toward people they need. Anyone can be polite toward someone who has influence. Anyone can be generous when there is a reward waiting at the end. These behaviors are easy because they come with benefits. Respect becomes simple when respect produces results. Kindness becomes convenient when kindness opens doors. But remove the reward, remove the advantage, remove the possibility of gain, and suddenly the situation becomes far more revealing. Watch how someone treats a service worker. Watch how they speak to an assistant. Watch how they respond to a cleaner, a cashier, a delivery driver, or a stranger asking for help. Pay attention to their patience. Notice their tone of voice. Observe whether they show basic respect even when there is no audience to impress. These moments may appear insignificant, but they often reveal the values operating beneath the surface. Many people reserve their best behavior for individuals they consider important. They become polite around authority figures. They become attentive around successful people. They become generous around people whose approval they desire. Yet their attitude changes completely when they interact with someone they believe has no influence over their life. That contrast tells a powerful story. It reveals whether respect is truly one of their values or merely one of their strategies. There is a huge difference between respecting people because they deserve respect and respecting people because they are useful. The first reflects character. The second reflects calculation. Character remains consistent. Calculation changes according to circumstances. This is why some individuals can appear incredibly kind in one situation and surprisingly disrespectful in another. The kindness was never universal. It was selective. It was directed only toward people who could provide something in return. Consider how often this happens in everyday life. A person may speak warmly to their boss while showing impatience towards support staff. They may praise fairness and compassion while treating strangers with indifference. They may talk endlessly about being a good person while displaying little concern for people they perceive as unimportant. These contradictions often go unnoticed because most observers focus only on the interactions that involve them directly. They see the charm. They hear the compliments. They experience the pleasant side of the person's behavior. As a result, they assume that everyone receives the same treatment. But human behavior rarely works that way. The people who receive the least attention often see the most authentic version of someone's character. They are not receiving the performance. They are not receiving the carefully polished image. They are seeing how the individual behaves when social rewards disappear. This is where psychology becomes especially interesting. Human beings are highly motivated by incentives. We naturally adjust our behavior when we believe certain actions will produce desirable outcomes. Approval, admiration, influence, opportunities, and status all encourage people to present themselves positively. But when those incentives vanish, maintaining the performance requires much more effort. Over time, masks become difficult to sustain. The real attitudes underneath begin to emerge. A person who genuinely values others will usually continue showing respect regardless of status. A person who secretly feels superior often reveals that belief through subtle actions. It may appear in their tone. It may appear in their patience. It may appear in the way they dismiss certain people while praising others. These behaviors are rarely dramatic. They often occur in small moments that pass quickly. Yet those moments contain valuable information. One reason this sign is so powerful is because it reveals how someone views human worth. Do they believe every person deserves basic respect? Or do they assign value based primarily on status, influence, wealth, attractiveness, or usefulness? The answer influences countless decisions. It affects relationships, it affects friendships, it affects leadership, it affects family dynamics. It affects how someone behaves when circumstances become difficult. A person who only respects people above them often struggles to show genuine empathy. Their behavior is guided by hierarchy rather than humanity. Unfortunately, many people miss this sign completely. They become so focused on how someone treats them that they fail to notice how that person treats everyone else. This is understandable. Most individuals naturally pay the greatest attention to their own experiences. If someone is kind to us, we tend to assume they are kind. If someone is respectful toward us, we tend to assume they are respectful. We judge character based on our personal interactions because those interactions feel most relevant. Yet this approach can be dangerously misleading. The reason is simple. People often behave differently when they want approval. When someone hopes to build a friendship, develop a romantic relationship, secure a business opportunity, or create a positive impression, they are motivated to display their best qualities. During these periods, kindness may be abundant, patience may be unlimited, generosity may seem effortless. But the question is not how someone behaves when they are trying to win admiration. The question is how they behave when admiration is no longer necessary. Many disappointing experiences begin with this misunderstanding. Someone appears thoughtful, considerate, and respectful at first. Everything feels genuine. Everything feels consistent. Then, as time passes and familiarity grows, a different side emerges. The patience decreases. The courtesy fades. The respect becomes conditional. People often describe this transformation as if the person changed overnight. In reality, the signs were frequently present from the beginning. They simply appeared in interactions that seemed unrelated. They appeared in moments directed toward other people. This is why observing behavior across different situations matters so much. Character reveals itself through patterns, not isolated events. One bad day does not define a person. One mistake does not expose someone's entire nature. But repeated behavior across different circumstances tells a deeper story. If someone consistently treats people with dignity regardless of status, that pattern matters. If someone consistently becomes dismissive toward individuals they perceive as less important, that pattern matters too. Patterns reveal priorities. Patterns reveal values. Patterns reveal the principles guiding a person's choices. And perhaps the most unsettling truth is this: the way someone treats people beneath them today may become the way they treat you tomorrow. Status changes. Circumstances change. Relationships change. The admiration that once motivated exceptional behavior may eventually disappear. The effort invested in maintaining a positive image may decrease. When that happens, the treatment once directed toward strangers, assistants, workers, or overlooked individuals can begin appearing in entirely different relationships. What seemed like isolated behavior suddenly feels personal. For this reason, understanding character requires looking beyond ourselves. It requires observing how people navigate the world when there is no reward attached to kindness, no benefit attached to respect, and no advantage attached to compassion. Because in those quiet moments when nobody important appears to be watching, the most revealing truths often begin to surface. The first sign reveals how people treat those who cannot offer them anything in return. The second sign is equally powerful, and in many cases even more revealing. It appears when a person gains power. Not necessarily great power. Not the kind that changes history or attracts headlines. Often it is much smaller than that. A promotion at work, a leadership position, financial success, authority over a team, control within a relationship. Even something as simple as winning an argument can reveal more about a person than years of conversation. This is because power creates a unique psychological situation. It removes limitations, it removes pressure, it removes certain social fears. Most importantly, it removes the need to constantly seek approval from others. And when that happens, parts of a person's character that were hidden before often become visible. Many people believe power changes people. It is a common saying. Someone becomes successful and suddenly acts differently. Someone gains authority and becomes difficult to deal with. Someone achieves status and begins treating others with less respect. Because these changes are so common, many assume that power itself creates these behaviors. But the reality may be more complicated. In many cases, power does not create arrogance. It reveals arrogance that was already there. Power does not create selfishness. It reveals selfishness that was previously restrained. Power does not create compassion either. It reveals compassion that already existed beneath the surface. In other words, power often acts like a spotlight. It illuminates traits that were difficult to see when circumstances were different. Think about how people behave when they feel dependent on others. When someone is trying to earn a promotion, they are often careful with their words. When someone is new to a company, they may be especially polite. When someone wants acceptance, they tend to control their behavior more carefully. They avoid conflict. They avoid offending people. They work hard to maintain a positive image. These actions are not always fake. Sometimes they are sincere. But they can also make it difficult to separate genuine character from strategic behavior. People are often at their most controlled when they feel they have something to lose. Now picture what happens when that pressure disappears. A person becomes the manager instead of the employee. A person gains influence instead of seeking it. A person becomes successful enough that they no longer depend on the approval of certain people. Suddenly, the environment changes. The incentives change. The risks change. The need to impress others becomes weaker. And this is where character begins speaking more loudly. Observe how someone behaves after gaining authority. Do they become more patient or less patient? Do they become more understanding or more demanding? Do they listen carefully to others, or do they begin dismissing opinions that disagree with their own? Do they use their position to help people grow, or do they use it to make themselves feel important? These questions matter because power magnifies choices. It provides opportunities that were not available before. It gives people more freedom to act according to their true priorities. One person becomes a leader and uses that position to encourage others. They remember what it felt like to struggle. They show appreciation. They remain respectful. They make people feel valued. Another person reaches the same position and immediately begins acting superior. They interrupt others. They become impatient. They expect special treatment. They enjoy reminding everyone who is in charge. The position may be identical, but the response is completely different. The difference is not the power itself. The difference is the character behind it. This pattern appears in countless areas of life. Consider financial success. Some individuals become more generous as their resources increase. They support others. They remain humble. They never forget the challenges they once faced. Other individuals become obsessed with status. They begin measuring human worth according to wealth, influence, or social standing. Their success becomes a tool for comparison rather than contribution. Again, money did not necessarily change them. It simply provided a larger stage on which existing traits could express themselves. The same principle applies inside relationships. When one person feels emotionally secure and confident that the other person will stay, their behavior often changes. Sometimes that change is positive. They become more open, more trusting, and more supportive. But sometimes the opposite happens. They become controlling. They stop making an effort. They begin taking the relationship for granted. They assume their position is secure, and therefore feel less pressure to maintain the kindness and respect they displayed in the beginning. What seemed like deep care may have been heavily influenced by the desire to win affection. Once that goal was achieved, the real priorities emerged. Even arguments can reveal this dynamic. Winning an argument creates a temporary form of power. One person gains the advantage. One person holds the stronger position. In that moment, character becomes visible. Does the winner remain respectful? Do they seek understanding? Or do they humiliate the other person? Do they become arrogant? Do they enjoy making someone feel small? The answer often reveals far more than the argument itself. Psychologists have long observed that power reduces the need for social masks. A social mask is the version of ourselves that we present to others in order to fit in, gain approval, or avoid negative consequences. Everyone wears these masks to some degree. They are part of normal social life, but maintaining them requires effort. It requires awareness. It requires self-monitoring. The more dependent we are on others, the more motivation we have to manage our image carefully. When power increases, that motivation often decreases. As a result, hidden attitudes begin to surface. Hidden beliefs become easier to detect. The traits that once remained in the background move closer to the front. This is why observing someone during periods of power can be incredibly revealing. You are not just seeing how they handle authority. You are seeing which parts of their personality become stronger when restrictions disappear. One of the most important observations to make is whether power expands someone's empathy or shrinks it. Some people become more compassionate when they gain influence. They recognize the responsibility that comes with leadership. They become more aware of how their decisions affect others. They understand that authority is a privilege rather than an entitlement. These individuals often leave positive impacts wherever they go because they view power as an opportunity to serve rather than dominate. Others move in the opposite direction. Their world becomes increasingly centered around themselves. Their opinions become more important. Their convenience becomes more important. Their desires become more important. They stop listening as carefully. They stop considering other perspectives. Their growing power feeds a growing ego. And over time, that ego begins controlling more of their behavior. This is one of the clearest dividing lines in human character. Some people become bigger than their ego. Others become servants of it. The first group uses power to strengthen values. The second group uses power to satisfy pride. The first group remains grounded. The second becomes consumed by self-importance. And because success often attracts admiration, these differences can be difficult to notice at first. This leads directly into one of the most dangerous illusions people encounter when judging character. Society often confuses visible achievements with invisible virtues. We see confidence and assume integrity. We see success and assume wisdom. We see popularity and assume goodness. Yet these qualities are not the same thing. Confidence can belong to a person with strong principles or a person with none at all. Success can be achieved by honorable methods or dishonest methods. Popularity can result from genuine kindness or exceptional self-promotion. History is filled with examples of individuals who appeared impressive on the surface, but lacked the character people assumed they possessed. Their confidence attracted followers. Their achievements earned admiration. Their public image created trust. Yet over time, their actions revealed a different reality. The qualities that impressed people initially were never reliable indicators of character in the first place. This misunderstanding affects everyday life as well. Someone may appear highly confident during conversations. They always have answers. They speak with certainty. They seem persuasive. Many people automatically interpret these traits as signs of strength and reliability. But confidence only tells us how strongly someone believes in themselves. It does not tell us whether their values are good. It does not tell us whether they are honest. It does not tell us how they treat others when circumstances become difficult. The same is true for success. Wealth, status, and achievement may reveal talent, discipline, intelligence, or determination. But they do not automatically reveal kindness, fairness, humility, or integrity. These are separate qualities. Sometimes they exist together. Sometimes they do not. The mistake occurs when people assume one guarantees the other. Popularity creates another illusion. Human beings naturally look to groups for guidance. When many people admire someone, we often assume there must be a good reason. Yet popularity can result from charisma, entertainment, influence, appearance, or timing. None of these qualities guarantee strong character. Some of the most admired people in the world possess remarkable character. Others simply possess remarkable public relations. This is why the two tests we have discussed remain so powerful. They cut through appearances. They cut through reputation. They cut through image management. They focus on behavior instead of presentation. How does someone treat people who cannot benefit them? What happens when they gain power? These questions reveal patterns that confidence, success, and popularity often hide. But before focusing entirely on judging others, there is another question worth considering. In fact, it may be the most important question in this entire discussion. Because understanding character is not only about recognizing flaws in other people. It is also about examining ourselves with the same honesty. When was the last time you paid attention to how you treat people who cannot help you? Not people whose approval you want. Not people who can improve your life. Not people who hold influence over your future. Just ordinary people. People who may never have any impact on your success or status. How much patience do you show them? How much respect do you give them? How much kindness do you offer when there is absolutely no reward attached? And what happens when you hold the advantage? What happens when you are right and someone else is wrong? What happens when you have authority, experience, knowledge, or influence? What happens when nobody can challenge your decision? Do you become more understanding or more demanding? More humble or more proud? More patient or more impatient? Perhaps the most revealing question of all is what happens when nobody is watching, when there is no audience. No praise, which recognition, no social reward. Which values continue guiding your behavior? Which principles remain important? Which choices do you make simply because they are the right choices? These questions are uncomfortable because they shift the focus away from other people's flaws. They force us to examine our own patterns. They challenge us to look beyond the image we present to the world and consider the values that operate beneath it. And often, the answers reveal far more than we expect. Most people spend years trying to understand the people around them. They analyze words, search for hidden meanings, and look for answers in long conversations. Yet the truth is often much simpler than that. Character leaves clues every single day. Quiet clues, consistent clues, clues hidden in ordinary moments that most people overlook, not in speeches, not in promises, not in carefully crafted images, but in behavior. Watch how someone treats people who cannot benefit them. Watch how they act when there is no reward waiting for them. Watch whether their respect depends on status, influence, or personal gain. Then watch what happens when power enters the room. Watch who they become when they have the advantage. Watch how they handle authority, success, control, and influence. Because these two moments reveal what appearances often hide. Anyone can look kind when kindness is easy. Anyone can seem humble when they have no power. Anyone can say the right words when the situation demands it. But character is tested when there is nothing to gain and everything to control. That is where the real person begins to appear. That is where values become visible. That is where masks start to fall away. And perhaps the most important lesson is this. The goal is not to become suspicious of everyone. The goal is to become more aware, more observant, more capable of seeing people clearly. Because the better you understand character, the better choices you can make about who you trust, who you allow into your life, and who truly deserves your respect. Now we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever discovered someone's true character through one small moment that changed the way you saw them forever? And which of these two signs do you think reveals more about a person? How they treat those who cannot help them, or how they behave when they gain power? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your story might help someone else see an important truth they have been missing. If you enjoyed this video and want more insights into psychology, human behavior, relationships, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a future video. And if you found this discussion valuable, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who would find it interesting. Thank you for watching, and remember, the most important things about people are rarely hidden. They are often revealed in the smallest moments to those who know where to look. We'll see you in the next video.